There are times in today's wonderful Windows RE world where Windows can't fix your problems. It's pretty amazing. I got to tell you, being an old geezer who's been around with very early version of Windows, today's Windows is shockingly automatic in terms of fixing stuff. However, there are situations where you're going to have to dig deep to be able to enact some type of repair. And that's where Windows Advanced Startup Options come into play. Advanced Startup Options give you the ability to get Windows to a state where you can make repairs. It doesn't fix by itself, it just gets you to a place where you can do something about it. Now, you've probably heard things like safe mode or low resolution mode and things like that, and that's really what we're talking about with these advanced options. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the advanced startup. In this case, I'm using Windows 8.1, but it works for pretty much any version of Windows from 8 on. And we'll talk about what all these different things are. Let's talk about what safe mode is, for example. But after we've done that, I want to show you there's a number of different ways to get into this. So let's start by taking a look at a system. Now, I've got a Windows 8.1 system here who has got a big problem, and he tried to fix things automatically and he's been unsuccessful, and then we end up seeing something like this. So this is telling me that I have a problem and you're going to have to fix it by yourself, Mr. Technician. So we could hit restart, and a lot of times restart by itself will fix it, but what we want to do is take a look at advanced options. So we go to troubleshoot, and advanced options, whoops, let's go back one. And we go to startup settings. So this is the place where we get all these cool settings. So let's go ahead and do it. We're going to run a quick restart here. And in order to get into these advanced options, I got to go ahead and do a restart. Now keep in mind, I'm actually in the recovery environment as this stuff sets up. So if you take a look, here's the list of things we can do. Now, the way you do it is by pressing a number key to turn any of these on. So number one, we can enable debugging. The only reason you're ever going to run debugging is because some technician or Microsoft or a driver's company says, we need you to generate a debug list, and they're going to take something from you for that. Number two is enable boot logging. Boot logging can be handy if you have a continuous problem during the boot process. What Windows will do is create a very specific log file that you can access to try to figure out what's going on. Number three is low resolution video. Now, the resolution depends on the version of Windows, but generally it's 800 by 600. And what it does is it keeps your video card from pushing your system further than it might be able to handle. Number four is safe mode, and that's probably the one I turn to more than anything else. Safe mode puts your system in the most basic form it can. It gets you to a Windows desktop, but it's low resolution. Any auto-starting program is turned off. Very simplified disk accessing. Turns off almost every service possible. So it's a very, very simplistic, primitive Windows, but at least it does get you into Windows. Next is safe mode with networking. Safe mode by itself turns off all the networking. So if you want your networking features turned on, you want to do that. Okay, I'll confess, I probably do safe mode with networking more often because I'm usually downloading some new driver or something to fix whatever the problem might be. Safe mode with command prompt, really all that does is brings you up to a command prompt, so you can type in commands that you may need to be able to do for scary stuff like fixing hard drives or something like that. Disabled driver signature enforcement. In general, Windows will have a big problem with you trying to install any device that doesn't have a proper driver signature with that particular device, but you can turn that off if you want to. Disable early launch anti-malware protection. In essence, at the moment of Windows boot, anti-malware features come into play, and here's where you can turn it off. And the last one, and one I actually do use quite a bit, is disable automatic restart after failure. Windows, by default, if it has a failure, it will keep trying to do a restart on its own over and over again. And this is a place you can go to say, please stop doing that. I'm in an endless loop. I've got to try something else. So we can also press F10 for more options, and that is just launch the recovery environment, which is basically the same as throwing in a installation media and going to your default WinRE. So what I'm going to do in this particular case is I'm going to go into safe mode. Now it's going to take him a minute to reboot as we go into safe mode. Now safe mode's actually pretty interesting. If you haven't seen it, you ought to see it real quick. You will know when you're in safe mode. Windows is going to be running very, very slowly. It's going to say safe mode all over the place, but the nice part is you'll be in Windows. All right, it looks like it's come up. So now keep in mind, this is still Windows. It's safe mode, but I still have to log in and everything else just like I do with regular Windows. And I am now in safe mode. So if you take a look, it says safe mode in the corners and all that. Keep in mind, Windows is not going to be running very quickly at this. We've turned off so many things that Windows needs to be able to run efficiently. We have a very primitive video driver. We have very slow disk access. It's very simplistic. But the nice part is, well, if I had done it with network support, here I could open up a browser, I could download drivers, I could go into Device Manager, I could take out a bad video driver, I can do whatever I need to do. So advanced options are really, really important. Advanced options, advanced startup options, everybody's got a different term for it. And you'll find yourself going there not very often on your own initiative, but usually you've got a problem and someone's telling you, oh, go into safe mode and delete the driver or something like that. So make sure you're comfortable with the idea of what advanced options do. Okay, so I did promise to show you there were a few other ways to get into this guy, so let's go ahead and do that right now. So here I've got Windows 8.1. So to get there, all I need to do is bring up the charm bar. Then I go to Settings. Then I go down here to Change PC Settings. And then I go over to Update and Recovery. And then I click on Recovery. And then right here I click on Advanced Startup and I hit Restart Now. I go over to Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, and then Startup Settings. Wasn't that easy? Now, I assure you that the CompTIA A+ is not going to test you on the paths to get to the advanced options on Windows 8.1, but it is always a possibility that you will need to be aware that you can get there from within the operating system itself. All right, well, if you think that was fun, let's do it again, except this time, let's do it with Windows 10. Getting to your advanced options in Windows 10 is easy. All you have to do is find any restart option. So on this particular machine, since I'm already logged in, I just click on Power, and you see where it says Restart? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I click Restart, and it immediately starts to reboot. And what's going to happen is it's going to go straight into the recovery environment, and then we're going to see those advanced startup options. So we just click on Troubleshoot, Advanced Options, Startup Settings, and there they are. All I'd have to do now is hit Reset, and I would see the exact same options that I would see with any other version of Windows. So it's actually fairly trivial to do. The only problem I have with accessing advanced options from within Windows is most of the time when I'm needing advanced options, it's because I've got trouble, and one of those big problems is well, I can't boot into Windows. So you can get in there within Windows, although how often I do that? Not very often. So I'm going to show you one more way to get to your advanced options. Now, this is a very nerdy thing to do, and I doubt it's on the A+, but it's something I put on all my Windows 8 and more systems to get to this anytime I want. See, I'm old school, and I remember the days when you could press F8 in like Windows Vista and 7, and it would bring these advanced startup options. Well, you can actually bring that back simply by entering this command. So open up a command prompt with administrative privileges and then type this in right here. I can't guarantee your safety doing it, although I will tell you this. I've done this on quite a few systems and it works beautifully. Every time Windows 8 or later boots up, if you hit F8, it will actually bring up the old school legacy startup options.